thing. Hello, you guys. Did you hear me say hello at all? I didn't know I was muted. I'm so sorry, but thank you guys for being here. So here's the deal. I am kind of I've made a decision to, I'm so sorry. I've made a decision to kind of wrap up some of the Wade Wilson coverage. I still have a few pre-records planned regarding his past. I am waiting on a records request. If that comes, we will talk about that. But for the most part, I'm ready to wrap it up. I've got some other things I want to do. We've got a request. Jen and I just got a request in regarding Tisha, and we just paid for 4 video visits. So we got lots of stuff, other stuff to talk about, trials happening, and that's kind of where I'm at. But I have a bunch of videos saved, like really interesting ones, local news with the neighbors talking, his attorney, I do have also, many of you guys have probably seen it, the interview with his dad. I have a body language expert, Dr. G, going over his body language when he gets the death penalty. So I thought, you know what, let's just hang out, watch these videos, discuss it, and go from there. They're all pretty much case related. Like, it's nothing regarding the wives and stuff like that. It's still very much in theme with us covering the trial. It's just that, just the decision I've came to. So I thought we could hang out together and just kind of kick back and watch some of these, and it would be, interesting. So that is a plan. Thank you guys for being here. Here's our first one. This is the neighbors react to Wade's violent history. It's quick, but interesting. Okay, here we go.
This home behind me was Wade Wilson's last stop before his arrest. But Cape Coral Police Department is trying to piece together Wilson's whereabouts between 10 and 11 a.m. Monday morning.
Up until a couple of days ago, it's been pretty quiet.
Bill Morgan lives next door to where 25-year-old Wade Wilson was arrested for burglary on Monday night. According to the report, earlier in the day, Wilson ran from police after admitting to stabbing someone. Cape PD searching for him most of the day. I went into multiple businesses along Hancock Bridge Parkway trying to figure out where Wilson went. Some businesses tell me Wilson was found.
Look, there's Mateo's Graphics, which we've talked so much about, or the sign for Mateo's Graphics. And you're exactly right, Toe Beans. We have a new Letitia to get to know, Evelyn's mom, and also some new Tisha stuff. I'm not going to say exactly what yet, but I know I said there are video visits, but I'm not going to say when, but I think it's going to be super interesting. Hope they fill the requests fast. So, we have lots of other stuff to do, but let's keep watching. So, Mateo's Graphics.
Trespassing in the area. The owner of a liquor store up the road says his sons have seen Wilson purchase alcohol there Friday and Saturday nights. The homeowners where Wilson was arrested were out of town. This arrest putting neighbors on alert.
You kind of think that you're always protected and everything is going to be fine. And when all of a sudden it happens next door, you start saying, by the grace of God, that could have been our house.
Absolutely,
so
it could have.
It's pretty scary.
Wilson is still in custody for burglary and battery charges. A judge ordered him held without bail. In Cape Coral, Alyssa Dickert.
So that was before he got his murder charge, right? All right, let's come over here for a second. This is his attorney talking about the online attention. This is kind of interesting.
Can you talk a little bit about how did any of the fanfare going on online impact this trial, do you think?
I don't think it impacted the trial at all. It's just very unusual. I've never been involved in anything like this before. I don't know how many tens of thousands of people are communicating with him or communicating with each other about him.
So they ask, do you think his fanfare has affected the trial? And he's like, no, maybe not affecting the trial, but it is weird. How many tens of thousands of people are talking to him? What?
There's donations that are set up for him, and it's just, I think it's ridiculous, but
He thinks it's ridiculous that they're doing donations and stuff for him.
There's a lot of people that think otherwise.
Can you talk a little bit about how did any of the fanfare going on?
Okay, so that's it of that one. Now, let's just go look at this because it's only a minute too. And then, what do you guys want to do? Well, first, we're going to watch the press conference with the victims, with Diane's dad, and then you can let me know if we do Dr. G or his dad's interview. But this is pretty quick, so let's hear this first.
Man convicted of murdering 2 Cape Coral women will have his brain scanned before his sentencing next week. I'm Fox 4's Alex Orenchuk, and I was
So one of the brain scans was only approved 7 days before the death sentence.
in court on Tuesday when a judge signed off on those scans. Wilson's attorney, Lee Hollander, argued Wilson should be able to have his brain examined with MRI tests and a CT scan. Hollander said that a doctor found signs that Wilson might have brain damage, and he wants to know for sure before the judge decides how Wilson will be punished.
Interesting, right?
Based on a report by Dr. Rubino, he recommended, well, first off, he found evidence
What brain?
indicating, possibly indicating traumatic brain injury.
Without objection from the state, Judge Thompson granted the motion. The Lee County Sheriff's Office will escort Wilson to the testing. The location and time of the testing are being kept secret for security purposes. Wilson was convicted on June 12th for the murders of 35-year-old Christine Melton and 43-year-old Diane Ruiz. The results of his brain scan will be received before his sentencing next Tuesday. At Wilson's sentencing, Judge Thompson will decide whether to move forward with a jury's death penalty recommendation or give Wilson life in prison.
Now, this is going to be tough. I'm assuming I haven't watched this. I saw part of it when we started to do the trial stuff, and I look forward to hearing it with you guys. So we're going to hear from Diane's dad, a police chief, the state attorney. They're going to talk about the death penalty, lessons they've learned, and the emails. So this will be interesting. Here we go.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm State Attorney Amira Fox. Thank you for joining us here today. As moments ago, we saw justice served for victims Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz, as defendant Wade Wilson was sentenced to death for the horrendous, atrocious, and cruel crimes that he committed. He was sentenced by the Honorable Nick Thompson, and this was the appropriate sentence for this evil monster. Standing here with me today is the family of Christine Melton, the family of Diane Ruiz.
Wow.
We are all so sorry for your loss. Also standing with me here today are Assistant State Attorneys Andreas Gardner.
My gosh. Wait, was that Stephanie, the friend on the very end there?
Sarah Miller of our homicide unit, and our Chief Assistant Rich Monicalvo.
Straight toe beans.
These amazing prosecutors who did this case have dedicated years of their lives to this legal work, making sure to seek justice for these victims and their families. I also have with me our Cape Coral Police Chief, Tony Sizemore. I want us all to remember first and foremost that today, as every day, is about the victims of this case.
Not about Wade. Okay. And feeling sorry for Wade. And you know what? That's another reason that I'm just kind of wanting to move on. He gets plenty of attention, and I'm just at that point. So.
Christine Melton and Diane Ruiz. They were two beautiful and wonderful women with their whole lives ahead of them. And they were cherished and loved by family, friends, and their community. I would now like the family to speak about Christine and Diane. And first of all, Christine's family, her cousin Samantha, is here with us today. Come on up, Samantha.
Wait, hold on.
And first of all, Christine's family, her cousin Samantha, is here with us today.
This was the cousin that was like a sister to her, Tess? Is that right? Because I remember that, but
today. Come on up, Samantha. Hi. As a family, we have all been really quiet because it was so important to the integrity of this case. Wade supporters have not been quiet, but we all know that the loudest ones are always the dumb ones anyways.
Oh, damn. Y'all hear that? Wade supporters are never quiet, but we always know the loudest ones are the dumb ones anyway. Damn. Ouch. That had to sting. Hey, Michelle Rye, thank you for gifting 5 memberships. Thank you so much. That's sweet. They are 4 eggs, Wilson. I'm with you. Tess, sad. Samantha, I love her. Hey, Samantha. Okay. I love that, though. Hey, CB. The loudest ones are the dumb ones.
But we're done being quiet. So I will say that this will not be the last that Wade Wilson sees of us in a courtroom. I think most importantly, I wanted to say thank you to Sarah and Andreas for hanging in there with us, because this has been 5 years of agony, and without them, I don't know that we would be here today. So I think that's most important to us, is to say thank you to them and to everyone that helped us on this path. And I think that's all I've got.
Aw.
Thank you, Samantha. And now to speak on behalf of Diane, her father, Felix.
Oh, my. That can be tough.
Yes. My name is Felix Ruiz, the father of Diane.
Oh, my gosh, you guys. He can't even, Grab your tissues. I feel this is going to be hard. The very first words out of his mouth, right? Oh, my God. Okay, let me mute so we can really hear this.
Yes. My name is Felix Ruiz, the father of Diane. I didn't get to say I love her and I miss her. But I also like to thank State Attorney and all the law enforcement involved in this case to make this day become the reality of today. I'd like you know that this is not the end. The end is when the accused takes his last breath, and I will be there at the execution. That's a promise.
Oh, my God, you guys. Can you imagine? Like, I'm sorry. Jackie, I've came in late and I'm already crying for this poor father. I feel it too. I mean, my God. And it's emotional and you can feel the heartbreak, but I can see the fury in his face. And the day that Wade is executed cannot come soon enough. That is one of the reasons that my video on his history was so important to me. Because he has a very violent history it's been going on for a long time, and he has this particular MO, a certain way of doing things when he's attacking his victims. I'm sorry, I hope it comes fast.
Thank you.
Thank you, Felix. We all stand with all of you in your terrible loss. The defendant in this case will now sit on Florida's death row as he awaits the death penalty. He will pay the ultimate price, the highest penalty we carry in Florida, because of the heinous, atrocious, and cruel things he did to these 2 victims. The decision by my office to seek the death penalty in this case, the recommendation of death by the jury, and the sentencing of the defendant to death
Hey, Diane.
today is a reflection of the severity of the crimes committed and the irreversible harm inflicted upon innocent lives. I want to thank the jury for their attention and focus to this case, both during the guilt phase and the penalty phase. We all realize that recommending life or death is the ultimate ask of a juror. The jury's attention during this trial, even during the difficult and awful elements detailing the crime scenes, are to be commended, and I thank them again. It has not gone unnoticed that this defendant is being idolized by some people who are somehow proud to.
She's one of the with the state attorney's office, I believe.
Mix their name with his.
Am I wrong about
through public comments, fundraising for him, or holding him up to be some sort of positive representation of a man, ignoring that he is nothing more than a vicious killer.
Fundraising for him, ignoring all the evidence, making excuses for the evidence. It is absolutely disgusting. And I'm so glad that the people that have exposed him, sorry, I was moving a chair here. The people that have exposed him for all the different women, think about it. Some of these women might have thought they were some of the only ones before phone calls from prison started dropping these calls, and they could hear what he was saying to each one of them. You know, Tess, will you drop that link for me since I mentioned it? Phone calls from prison, pretty please.
And about the most poor representation of a man there could ever be. He murdered a woman in her own home who did nothing to harm him, Christine Melton, as she simply slept in her bed. He murdered another woman, Diane Ruiz, who was simply walking to work. Both these women physically suffered tremendously due to his decision to kill and due to his horrible actions. They fought back. They fought for their lives. This defendant is no idol. It is a disgrace, and it is pitiful to hold him up as such. This defendant is now nothing more than a number in the Florida Department of Corrections awaiting death. The Cape Coral Police Department did a terrific job handling this investigation into both these murders and developed the evidence leading to the arrest of the defendant. And I'd like to invite Cape Coral Police Chief Tony Sizemore up to the podium to talk about his agency's involvement. Tony?
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Fox. Good afternoon. As the police chief of the Cape Coral Police Department, I represent the men and women who work tirelessly for our community. But when it comes to major events like these horrific crimes and the subsequent trials that happen afterwards, I also represent the community of Cape Coral as a whole. I advocate for them on matters of public safety and criminal justice. And with that, first, I'd like to echo what was so eloquently stated by our state attorney, that this beautiful family deserved so much more than what has happened to them, and we agree with you. I'm grateful for the jury in the original trial, their dedication, attentiveness, and ultimately the verdict that was reached. I'm grateful for Judge Thompson, who imposed the proper penalty in this case after much deliberation. And I'm proud to work with our state attorney and her talented team of prosecutors to seek justice. I'm honored to say that I work alongside some of the most dedicated, compassionate, and talented men and women at the Cape Coral Police Department, people whose life's work is to make sure that these outcomes are possible. And lastly, and most importantly, to the families. I pray that today's outcome can somehow close this particular chapter so that you can turn the page and begin a journey that will ultimately lead to your peace. Thank you.
All right, just a second. So while we're in between speakers, toe beans, I put it in the chat, but I just checked. The state attorney's name that was speaking with first, her name is Amira Fox. Okay, I see. I was curious if her name is on any of the lawsuit that Jesse and Wade are suing Lee County. Thank goodness for phone calls from prison. No telling how many more simpletons he would have manipulated and exploited for his own financial gain. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons why, even though I'm wrapping up the Wade coverage here, this is probably going to be one of the last lives we do. I do have some videos I want to put out regarding his history, and maybe they won't be seen by anybody, but maybe they will. And just the fact that YouTube took that last one down, I'm even more like there will be a video up about that. Also, if I get that records request back, which I'm assuming that I will, we will go over that. It's important. That is one of his most vicious and violent crimes besides the murders. And it certainly shows a pattern of behavior goes as far as he goes. So we will go over that if they send it back. If they don't, I'll just include it in his the pre-record about his history. But I'm glad we're watching this at the end, wrapping it up. And then I think we'll do Dr. G body language next, because it's all regarding the trial, the death penalty, his body language during that. And I think it will be pretty interesting to see. I definitely am glad I'm seeing this.
Thank you, Chief Sizemore. Now, I've already introduced them, but I'm going to introduce them again because we wouldn't be standing here without them. And I'm so very proud to work with the two assistant state attorneys from our homicide unit who have been on this case from the very beginning. And I'd like them to say a few words. First of all, we're going to have Sarah Miller, Assistant State Attorney Sarah Miller, come up and say a few words. Thank you, Amira.
Behind every true crime show, every crime podcast, and every criminal trial is a real victim with family and friends that love them and miss them dearly. This case is no different. Behind this case were two families who have suffered great and unimaginable loss. No family ever imagines ending up in our office, meeting with strangers, hoping to find justice for their loved ones. To the families of Christine Mountain and Diane Ruiz, thank you for placing your trust in us. Thank you for your patience as this case lingered, as the defendant went through multiple attorneys. Thank you for sharing your stories that we'll never forget. We know that this sentence does not bring back your loved ones. And we know that your journey of grief will continue forever. But it was an honor to walk through you as we sought justice. So thank you. And I just want to thank the jury as well for the hard job that you did in hearing these facts and seeing the victims. And thank you very much.
I'm glad that she thanked the jury as well, because for your average person, especially somebody who's not into true crime, this would be incredibly traumatizing. Even for instance, with Leilani Simon, we didn't see the pictures. We saw a couple, but most of them we didn't. And it was still traumatizing as viewers. For me, it took some time, but after a week or so, I just was so emotional, so depressed, just thinking about it as I lay down to sleep at night, not able to go to sleep. And that is watching from online. Also, Gannon Stalk. They did, if you watch the trial live, they did show a lot of the pictures of him. Not all of them, but, there was this one that they showed right when he was found. And I think about that pretty regularly. I cannot get the image out of my head. So imagine for a jury who's seeing all of this in person, I'm thankful for them too,
And now Assistant State Attorney Andreas Gardner is going to say a few words, and he will also be available to answer any questions that you have once he's completed his words with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Decision to seek the death penalty is not one that's taken lightly. It takes a lot of thought and consideration. When I first got the calls regarding the investigation, regarding both deaths in this particular case, we began putting both cases together. We learned that not only were they related, but this case was deserving of that consideration. The defendant killed for the sake of killing. And it was nothing more than a vulgar display of power. I know you heard that during my closing argument. And for those of you who are heavy metal fans, yes, I did take that from the heavy metal band called Pantera.
We quoted Pantera in the closing argument?
This defendant's acts warranted the death penalty, not because of that he killed or how he killed, but it's why he killed. And he killed because he could. He killed because he wanted to. He killed because he'd already done it once. And he killed because he was going to do it again.
Yep. And he would continue to do it, in my opinion. We have seen him continue to attack people in jail. Jen says, I'm sure it's so much worse actually being there, though, Allie, like traumatizing on another level, just feeling the sadness in the room. I agree 1,000%. That's really what I meant by that is it's so hard for us as viewers online. Like, imagine actually being there. Imagine actually seeing it. Imagine having to be in the room with the victims' families as that's being shown. You know, I just...
It's that exhibition of callousness. It's that exhibition of consciencelessness. And it's that which determined that he didn't deserve to walk among us. So not only did the facts and circumstances warrant the death penalty in this case, it was deserved and he earned it, and we did not make this decision lightly. So I want to thank you very much for your time in this case, and if you have any questions regarding the case.
I would say it makes your case a lot harder to go after the death penalty. And look, I know sometimes people get annoyed with me pausing. The whole point of my channel is to give commentary on the things we talk about and watch, and also to create my own things too. I don't like to just play videos. I will create timelines and get my own FOIA requests and go through documents and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when we're watching a video like this, the point is to have a discussion around it, you know. But regardless, I can imagine that as an attorney, you have to wrestle with the fact that if you go, not just an attorney, a state prosecutor, if you go for the death penalty, some people might not be willing to vote them, you know, convict, or it's going to be harder, you know, and even harder to, or at least it would feel that way, right? Because I don't know. I know that they do screening of the jury when it is a death penalty case, and they won't set you on a jury if you're against the death penalty, if they're going for the death penalty, but still.
This would be more than happy to answer those for you.
What are your thoughts on all the attention this has gotten across the world?
When I closed this particular case, along with Ms. Miller, I specifically said this case wasn't about Mr. Wilson. This case was about Diana Ruiz. This case was about Christine Melton, and it should remain that way. The fact that he's getting all this kind of attention is unwarranted. He doesn't deserve any of that attention. Ms. Melton does, Ms. Ruiz does, and the family does. They deserve everything. They deserve the empathy. They deserve the sympathy of all the actions that were taken against those individuals, and they should be remembered, not what he did.
Was there any doubt that you would get the death penalty because of all this attention and people writing to the judge, even though the judge didn't see these letters?
The way in which we presented this particular case.
I don't know if you guys can hear her very well, the person asking questions, but she said, you know, basically, was there any doubt about going for the death penalty, you know, once you see all these letters that people are writing the judge and stuff? And Melissa has went over those letters, so I'm going to drop her link. I know many of you guys, most of you, I'd say 99% have heard them, but or watch her anyways, but just in case, you should go check it out. And you guys are sweet. I appreciate you saying that. I love hearing you, Allie. Pause all you want to transform your content. I'm here for it. Thank you. I really do appreciate you guys.
Case and the strengths and weaknesses that we observed in this particular case, we felt confident in the fact that if we presented this case correctly, that the jury would be able to make the determination and hopefully make the recommendations we saw. And when they did, we were going to argue and make sure that the judge saw what we saw in this particular case. And that was 5 years ago in the making, and that's what happened here today.
You mentioned you referenced closing arguments and watching it. Anyone that's paying close attention, you guys were almost like fire and ice. My question is more specifically for Sarah.
Sure.
What was that passion? You know, we could hear that fire in your voice. What was driving you in those moments?
Obviously, the facts of the case, I don't know how anybody can't be passionate about what happened to these women. I think what sets this case apart from a lot of other murders is that this could have been any one of us. This could have been any one of us walking to work, going to an after party after a bar. And
I said that when we first started. Do you remember when we started the trial and we heard about what happened with Diane? I said that literally could have been me so many times. Another thing that sets it apart from other ones is his history. I know I'm getting annoying probably saying this over and over, but I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed by the fact that he wasn't stopped sooner. I'm annoyed by the fact that in 2019 alone, by the end of the summer, he had attacked 2 women damn near till death, right? Choking them, tying them up, sexually assaulting them, all of it. And just that year alone with Kelly and Mila. Not to mention the 2014 case from December 2014 and all the other things he's been in trouble for, all the other violent things, nonviolent things, manipulative things, taking advantage of people, all of it. That's another thing. It's not necessarily super unique. We do see this, like where people get chance after chance after chance, but I'm really sick of seeing it. We shouldn't, honestly. So that's just where I'm at.
to think it could have happened to anybody, it's a scary thought. And so I think this case was impactful to me personally. It was impactful just my getting to know the family and how loved Christine and Diane were. And I wanted the jury to see that, again, this is about them. This is about their what they went through, and just to show the jury that we care, that we're not just here because it's a job, but it's because we really do seek justice. We don't go into this job for big pay. It's because we do want to see justice for our community.
After the verdict, you talked about victims and other alleged victims, Palm Beach County, Tallahassee. Do you think the final chapter today is justice for those who may not have gotten justice before?
I do. I know for a fact that there were victims who went forward in the justice system and didn't get the result that they wanted. I know that there were cases that didn't go forward. I know that there were women that were afraid to pursue charges. I know there were women who dropped charges because of their fear. And so this case is a win for so many people. And it's a win for anybody out there that would ever come into contact with him, because as Wade Wilson's father testified at trial, I believe he would have done this again. I believe that if he hadn't been stopped on this day, there would have been more victims. And if Mila didn't have witnesses at her spa, that she would have been a victim of murder as well. So I think it's a huge win for the safety of our community, for the safety of the state of Florida, and for anybody that's walking down the streets.
I have a question more for Ms. Fox.
Yes.
You mentioned how Wade Wilson got a lot of uncalled for really attention.
Yes.
What are some lessons learned, from those particular examples in this case moving forward? How is your office perhaps going to adjust, or, and getting less targeted to sponsors like those?
Dude, They can't even hear him. I certainly can't hear him. He's asking about what lessons have they learned and how is your office going to adjust, something like that. I don't know. But we're going to hear that. But first, I just want to just acknowledge your comment, Crime All the Time. I had a friend who was a victim of a murder-suicide after years of being terrorized by her husband. The cops were called out so many times, and they said there was nothing they could do. I'm so sorry, Crime All the Time. That's complete bullshit, and I'm just so sorry. Okay. Let's hear what lessons they've learned, because after this, they're going to tell us their thoughts on the death penalty and then their thoughts on all the emails. So I really want to hear that.
Well, I think in the world of social media and the internet, I've been doing this a very long time, 34 years, and I have to say that I have never seen someone as evil as Wade Wilson. And I have never been so stunned as to see some people in the community that actually think it's a good idea to support somebody that evil and that monstrous. And I don't know that there's much we can do differently. I would hope that people in the community would conduct themselves differently and remember that 2 beautiful, innocent young women died because of this person, and that they would conduct themselves differently.
Can we talk about how important the change in Florida's death penalty law recently was to this case? Without it, he would have got life in prison.
Can we talk about how important Florida's recent death penalty law has changed? Because without it, he would have gotten life in prison. I didn't know about that. Do you guys? Let me look that up while we're listening.
Go ahead, man. Well, with regards to the change in the law that happened, over a year ago? We were concerned, and when we presented this particular case to the jury, we felt strong enough that we were able.
I see it, and I think we should look at it before we hear this, before we hear about the death, about the change in the law. So just so we can know what they're talking about. Oh, come on now. Okay, DeSantis signs law lowering death penalty threshold in Florida. The change will allow juries in the state to recommend a death sentence even if as many as 4 jurors vote against it, the lowest threshold in America. Florida will become the state with the lowest threshold for imposing the death penalty, which will allow juries to recommend capital punishment without a unanimous vote. The change, which will allow juries to recommend a death sentence with an 8-4 vote, was prompted by Florida's jury decision last year to sentence life in prison without parole to the gunman who murdered 17 people at a mass shooting. Wow. Okay, so apparently not all the jurors wanted Wade to get the death penalty, if that's the case, right? Let's hear this. We're almost done with this.
Able to convince the jury that this case was well deserving of the death penalty. The change obviously assisted us as related to, achieving the death penalty in this particular case. However, we felt strong enough that it warranted the death penalty regardless of the change.
If you could say something to Christine and Diane right now, what would you say?
Well, let me just say this. When Sarah and I began this case, we received an email from a mother of a young lady in northern Florida. Her daughter had gone through an issue with Mr. Wilson. That kind of motivated us. One of the things that she told us was, go get him.
Wow. Hold on, because I want to rewind that and hear it again. But Julie, you make a really good point. I think this is the only thing that may get overturned since crimes were before the law change. I hate to say this, okay, and CB says the same thing. I think he will get off death row because of the timing. Wow. I had no idea. So, see, this is why I'm so glad we did this. Of course, the emails, when hearing Melissa and the girls go over them, and her, even before that, her and Tess going over case stuff really piqued my interest and made me want to know more. And I found myself just always wondering about the details of the crimes. And now I truly do feel like I have a really good understanding of what he's done, not only then, but before. and somewhat after. That was something that I considered getting into, was his crimes in prison. And Melissa, of course, encouraged me because she has covered them in depth. I don't know that we will do that now. I'm changing my mind about the direction I want to go, maybe at some point. But if you haven't seen them, you have to go check out her pre-records, because he's committed sexually violent crimes in prison too, just against like his roommate, and okay. So let me rewind that just a second so we hear that entire part. Still life in prison with no parole. Wolfie. Okay. I'm just thankful that you're here, Wolfie, and for your help and all of your guys' help to the mods, and just for all of you guys being here. Okay.
Say this. When Sarah and I began this case, we received an email from a mother of a young lady in northern Florida. Her daughter had gone through an issue with Mr. Wilson.
We received an email from a mom with a young daughter from Florida, or with a daughter. I don't know. Did he say young daughter? Why am I thinking he did? Maybe he didn't. With a daughter from Florida who had went through an issue with Mr. Wilson. Huh. Is he referring to his past crimes? Because, God, I wish he would go into that a little more. I know it may not be the place. I just think that it's really important. But Mom said, go get him.
That kind of motivated us. One of the things that she told us was to go get him. That was one of the things that stood back in our mind when we tried this particular case. So we're hoping that Miss Melton is looking down and Miss Ruiz was looking down and saying, good, we got him.
What would you say, Wade?
Bye.
It's my understanding that his communication in the jail has been cut off.
Good, we got him.
What would you say, Wade?
Bye.
She said, what would you say to Wade? Bye. Damn.
It's my understanding
Woo.
that his communication in the jail has been cut off for a couple of weeks. Who made that decision, and is that accurate?
And that was on the recording, that first woo from the crowd. But I just want to hear this closer so I can relay it to you, because it's really quiet when they're talking.
It's my understanding that his communication in the jail has been cut off for a couple of weeks. Who made that decision, and is that accurate?
It's my understanding his communication in the jail has been cut off for a couple weeks. Who made that decision, and is that accurate, is what she said.
We just got emails from a couple days ago, so it doesn't appear to us that his communications have been cut off, at least from what I've seen come through our office.
You got emails from him?
We request his jail emails, so part of the process of our case is we've been requesting and reviewing his emails and phone calls to all of these women, and maybe a lot of these women don't realize, but all of this is public record. So their names, their emails, where they work, the photos they sent, all of that is public. And so we know the women, we know these types of jobs they have, where they are in our community, where they are in the world, and we've been reading them.
Wait a minute. So you mean that you can put out people's names and different public records, and all of that is public record, which means we should definitely be able to talk about it on our channels without getting strikes. And whether it's the emails about the girls or about his past.
So we've seen a lot of this communication through the course of this case.
Embarrassing. I bet you ladies who've been sending all the little pictures of your ass far away in a little mirror and shit like that, trying to be sneaky, I hope you are embarrassed and ashamed. And especially those of you with husbands, pregnant, it is disgusting. Truly, I am disgusted. Not that I also take the stance that I would be open to asking some questions and to having conversation with some of these women, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I just find it really gross.
Anyone have any other questions?
Wade Wilson, I'm hiding behind my sorry. I'm not too tall. So Wade Wilson has several pending cases. How do you expect those to move forward? Are you going to pursue, what do you pursue beyond the death penalty on those cases?
So because they're pending, we are not going to discuss them because they're open cases. However, what I would like to say is that we will resolve them in any manner as quickly as possible to get Wade Wilson on his way to death row where he belongs. All right, thanks everybody. Thank you for coming.
Okay. So now this will be interesting. We're going to watch Dr. G. He's going to talk about his reaction to the death penalty, his behavior and body language. And I think this is also another good way for us to kind of wrap this up. No, Woofy, I think there's another case. He's in the middle of a lawsuit right now, and I would bet that's why they're not doing certain things as far as FOIAs go. But I was just saying that because of my video getting taken down the other day, and because I know other people's have gotten taken down and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a great video. Yay, okay. I don't have a problem when people want to interview them. I just get mad when people don't hold them accountable and give them a soft landing for a way out. I understand that. I do, and I've heard that a lot. All I remember is being carried to the ambulance while my mom was being tackled for trying to get the gun from police to shoot my ex. True story. I'm so sorry, Boho Hobo. They're all disgusting. I don't think I could stomach listening to a Wade supporter speak their love and lies. Okay. Yeah, Tess just got one. Hey, Justin. Okay, so here we go. This is honestly a great way for us to wrap up the trial stuff because I just think it is. I love body language videos. I know it's not a science, right? It's not 100% accurate, but it is really interesting. Especially when people are, super educated. They've trained for this, the behavioral panel. They're great. And then Dr. G. So here we go.
G here. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist and body language expert.
I'm going to drop his link in the chat. If you haven't watched him, you should. He talks about lots of different cases, lots of different people. He does a great job. We, of course, are going to watch within fair use and discuss it along the way, but I still recommend going and just checking out all of his videos because he has a bunch of stuff. And after the live, I will link. Okay, Woofy. After the live, I will link his channel in the description for those of you who might be watching and not doing the live chat thing. Okay.
And today we're going to be analyzing the behavior and body language of Wade Wilson. Wade Wilson was recently found guilty for the murder of 2 women that he brutally strangled. Before we get started with this analysis, I wanted to remind you of a couple of things. One, this is not a psychological evaluation of any kind. These are just my opinions. In addition to that, I do want to remind you to like and subscribe if you want to see more content just like this. All right, let's go. What we're going to be looking at today is Wade Wilson's reaction to the penalty phase of his trial. Let's just jump right in.
All right.
All right, verdict form.
Now, the first thing you're probably noticing as they're getting the verdict form ready is that he's leaning back. Now, this is an attempt to appear casual. It's an attempt to appear calm. As you can see, he's got his nose in the air. You're going to see a lot more of this. He's leaning back. He's trying to appear calm, but we're going to see there's probably a lot more emotion under the surface than initially meets the
Cool, calm, and collected. He is. I could definitely see that.
eye.
All right, verdict form appears to be in order. We'll let the clerk publish the verdict.
In the circuit court of the
Now, you probably noticed a lot of emotion just then. First thing you see is a heavy swallow. Now, as our mouths dry out, as we're getting more and more anxious, it makes us aware of the different processes going on in our body. So it ends up oftentimes causing us to think about the sensations in our throat, causes us to swallow. So you're seeing him swallowing, which means that he's got a lot of anxiety right now. You're also seeing him look around everywhere. He doesn't know where to put his eyes. There's a lot of anxiety and stress under the surface that he doesn't want to show. Like I said, the leaning back is an attempt to counterbalance how he's feeling, because right now he's probably feeling very intense. But as we're going to talk about with some of the tattoos, that's the last way that he would want you to think that he feels right now, I think.
Oh, Dr. G. Basically saying even the tattoos, it's all an act, honey. He wants to act cool, calm, collected, tough, and strong, and he is a weak little bitch. Sorry.
All right, verdict form appears to be in order. We'll let the clerk publish the verdict.
In the Circuit Court of the 20th Judicial
See, there's those deep swallows again. He's starting to blink more. The stress is building and building.
Circuit in Fort Lee County, Florida. Criminal action. State of Florida versus Wade Wilson. Case number.
You can also see his chest moving up and down pretty rapidly, actually. He's taking heavy, deep breaths. The reason we do that is that when our heart pumps harder, when our heart beats faster, it uses up more oxygen. Therefore, we need to breathe heavier. We need to breathe more. So right now, you're seeing somebody who's feeling a tremendous amount of stress, as most people would in a situation like this, but he doesn't want to show it. So some people want you to see how stressed out they are. Some people do not. And some people don't seem to feel much of anything. I've absolutely watched verdicts being read where people seem to feel or experience very little. This does not seem to be the case with him. I think that he's somebody that feels very intensely. And right now, as I said before, he's leaning back. He's got his nose in the air. We put our nose in the air to show everybody else that we're better than them, that we're above a certain situation. So
That we're better than them and above a situation. And that's common, right? You'll hear like walking around with your nose in the air. Oh, no, Wade, you are better than no one. You are literally better, not even better than my dog shit. I'm sorry. And listen, I do love to shit talk horrible people like Wade, Letitia, Leilani, Megan Boswell, Lori Vallow, Barry Morphew. I could go on and on, but you know, they deserve it. So I do not feel a bit bad about telling them where to go and how to get there. Not that they care what I say anyways, but still.
If
you're noticing in my voice that I may enjoy that a little bit, then you might be right.
basically saying this doesn't affect me, but as we can see, it seems very much to affect him.
State of Florida versus Wade Wilson. Case number 19 CF 568. Jury verdict form, penalty phase. We, the jury.
All right, now you see that little twitch in the corner of his mouth. So they said penalty phase, it's a big swallow, it's a twitch in the corner of his mouth. What this is his contempt. Now, most emotions we see on both sides of the body, except for contempt. So when somebody smiles, both sides, frowns, both sides, you get the idea. But when you see this weird little twitch, that is a contemptuous feeling. So he feels contempt that they're getting ready to read him this verdict, that they're getting ready to read him the penalty.
Jury verdict form, penalty phase.
Is contempt like another way to say anger, basically?
That's the look right there.
Oh,
a one-sided smirk, a quick twitch on his face because the feelings of contempt are so intense. And part of the reason is that he has no control at this point. You got to realize somebody like him is going to absolutely want to be in complete and utter control at any given time. And in this situation right here, when you have a jury member reading something to you and you have no control, that's going to stir up feelings of contempt and probably other feelings as well.
Reasonable doubt that Wade Wilson was previously convicted of a felony and under sentence of imprisonment.
Now, something that's going to be absolutely torturous to him is how long it's taking, because there's a process. The jury has to read through this. They have to read the statement, in essence, that's written down. And so he's not going to like this. He's going to want to just go ahead and get things over with. So he is sitting there. He is simmering. He's struggling to make it through this because he has to sit there and listen, yet he wants an answer quickly. So for somebody like him who's probably impatient, probably impulsive, this is going to be torturous for him, basically.
Or placed on community control or on felony probation. Yes. We, the jury, find unanimously that the state has established.
And as you can see, the deep swallowing again. He also looked at the camera right here. Watch this right here.
We, the jury.
He has a lot of anxiety and he knows it. And I think that he wants to make sure that everybody sees what he wants people to see. I mean, you have to think about the tattoos that he has.
Oh, sorry. Wow, though, the way he's looking right at the camera. I didn't mean to pause that, but I figured I'd say that while I got paused.
He's very big on appearance. You don't get a swastika tattooed on your face without knowing that people are looking at you and thinking about how people are perceiving you. He wants people to be afraid of him. He wants to be intimidating. He wants to control.
Don't forget, we learned when we started this journey through the trial that he requested a hearing just before it started, asking for makeup to cover up his tattoos, worried that they would judge him because of them.
Control how others feel. And he has no control right now. So knowing he's being recorded, knowing this is taking a while, these are all things that are going to add to his frustration and his stress.
Find unanimously that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that Wade Wilson was previously convicted of another capital felony or of a felony involving the use of threat of violence to the person. Yes.
Now, you saw him blink very slowly right there. Now, blinking naturally is very quick. That was very slow, which means it was intentional. Watch this again.
Use of threat of violence to the person. Yes. We, the jury.
So that slow blink, this means that he is giving thought to how he's being perceived. He blinked slowly. He looked at the camera. He's trying to remain calm because I think that that's how he wants to appear to everybody else, that he's calm, that he's above this, that he doesn't care what's being said, that he doesn't care the outcome here, that he is unaffected, which once again does not seem to be the case.
Unanimously find that the state has.
And there was that contempt again. Watch this right here.
Yes, to the person. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that.
So we, the jury, unanimously find. Immediately, I think he's preparing himself once again for what's getting ready to be said. He knows it's not going to go his way, but he knows how uncomfortable it's going to feel to have to hear this, to have to listen to this, to have people looking at him when this is being said. And so once again, there's that contempt right there.
Unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the first-degree murder was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel. Yes. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt that the first-degree murder was committed in a cold, calculated, and premeditated manner without any pretense of moral or legal.
He definitely seems to be listening pretty closely. And Julie, I don't think the judge approved it, but that's just the way that I remembered. I could be wrong.
I do think the fact that there's a process, the fact that he has no control, once again, is making him struggle. You see that he doesn't know where to look. He keeps looking around, and then he continues to look back at the camera. He seems to have this pattern of looking around, looking at the camera. There's just so much discomfort right now.
That Wade Wilson should be sentenced to death. As to count 4, first-degree murder, Diane Ruiz. We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt.
And as you can see, he was taking deep breaths, staring straight ahead. After hearing that, trying to process the fact that they had basically said that he's going to get the death penalty. So at that point, he'd been waiting for it. He'd been anticipating it. And then he's trying to manage the feelings that come with that.
Which would be a lot of feelings, Hold on, there was a comment. Judge did approve it. He just decided not to do it. Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Thank you, guys. And I remember we went over it, but I don't actually think that the article we read was before the judge made a decision anyways, if I remember back. And then Solo Angel Mom says, the jury was unanimous, so the new law does not apply anyway. Well, then why? I'd be curious why they asked the prosecutors, like, how they felt that he may have, like, how they felt about that. Like, the way that they asked it seemed like it wasn't. So that's interesting. Okay, here we go. I haven't watched the death sentencing yet. I was waiting to watch it with you guys, and like I said, I'm kind of changing the way we're going to do things. So here is the first time.
Aggravating factors. We, the jury,
So if you look at the tattoos that he has, obviously there's a couple of swastikas there. The whole goal is to assert mental dominance over people so that when people look at him, they know that he is hateful. They know that he is angry, to go ahead and assert dominance of some kind. If you look at the mouth stitches, what looks to be sewn shut, it's presumably, I assume some of it, that's probably a throwback to the Joker from The Dark Knight, who had the cuts on his face. And so there's some idea that he's unpredictable, that he's wild. But the point is that with these tattoos, he is trying to wear who he is very much on his face. He wants you to see this. This is the goal of this, is to show you who he is. The goal of this is to make a statement when people look at him. So you got to think about the fact that somebody that has these types of tattoos.
So I bet you his lawyer did request the makeup then if he refused it. But it's like, why even make the request when you didn't have all those tattoos when you went to jail, dude? And look, I never realized he had that giant swastika on the side of his head. Ugh.
Really is trying.
Which I will say, I do know that this is before he knows he's going to be in there for life, which he probably assumed. I have heard people say that they will join like gangs for protection or make it seem like they are in one or part of one for protection. Now, I'm not saying that's what he's doing. It's just something that I have heard. So
Trying to speak to people without saying anything.
8 jurors vote for the death penalty. Your recommendation must be for a penalty of life in prison without the possibility of parole. If 8 or more jurors vote for
It also looks like he's trying to keep a slight smirk on his face right now. It's a little bit hard to tell. And the fact that there's that tattoo makes it more distracting, but it looks like he's trying to keep a slight smile on his face. Although based on all of the stress he's shown so far, I'm not sure that he actually feels any happiness or that he actually feels any degree of being pleased with anything going on right now. If anything, I think that he's probably very frustrated by the fact that he has no control in this moment. And, you know, once again, you look at his tattoos, those are all about control and controlling how other people feel when they look at him.
the death penalty. Your recommendation must be for the death penalty. We have further considered whether Wade Wilson should be sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole or death. We, the jury, find by a vote of 10-2 that Wade Wilson should be sentenced to death. Dated this 25th day of June, 2024, in Lee County.
Now, right now, to me, after they'd said that he should be sentenced to death, he looks to me like he's trying to hide a little bit, because at that point, he's sitting very still. Watch this part right here.
Of 10-2 that Wade Wilson should be sentenced to death.
So there we go.
Dated this 25th day of June, 2024.
It's not unanimous.
In Lee County, Florida, 4-person, 230.
So oftentimes when we feel danger, when we feel a threat, we tend to freeze. And I think at that moment, that's exactly what's happening. He's freezing. He hears that he's going to be sentenced to death. That makes him freeze. And that's the body responds to that in a very literal way.
Does anybody want the jurors to be polled? Okay.
Okay, so before they poll the jury, this is interesting. So Jen Marr says he knew. On a phone call, he said he just received paperwork for the death penalty. Is it possible that that paperwork, because he probably thought it was likely, but I think that they had just came to the decision. So maybe the paperwork was like a just in case they do, right? Or I don't know. Neat. Is that too really that big? Like a 2 or 3 neck tattoo? Oh my gosh. Okay.
Members of the jury, we're going to ask each of you about the jury's decisions that you have just heard. And I'm going to go juror by number. So
oh no,
juror,
Elliot, I'm sorry.
do you, juror 97, agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror 205, do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided?
So as he's going through and asking each juror if they in fact made that decision or if they agree with what's being said, you can see he's looking at people one after the other. And this is meant to be intimidating. So now when he's not having to sit and listen to what's getting ready to be read, he was looking around, he was looking anxious. Now he's looking directly at people. From what I can tell, he's probably looking at each juror, trying to be intimidating.
Decided.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I don't like that at all. I just do not like that. And do not be sorry if your numbers were off. You guys have incredible memories. Like I say this all the time, but it never ceases to amaze me, like how absolutely brilliant you guys are, how interesting you are, how funny you are, and also how kind and supportive that you are. So just the fact that you guys remembered, some of you, that it wasn't unanimous, and, you know, I think that's great. And yeah, no worries.
Juror 101, do you
You're
agree
welcome.
that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror 215, do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Juror
And this is something I say on a number of videos, but I really want you to consider the kind of person that would commit the types of acts that Wade Wilson did, the kinds of things that he did, the amount of control that he needs, the amount of control that's lost right here is probably almost too much to bear. It's so significant for somebody like this to be on the receiving end of having no control and having people saying in a very direct way, yes, I believe that this person should be sentenced to death.
that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided?
Yes, sir.
Juror 315, do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury?
And as you can see, he's only moving his eyes rather than moving his whole head and looking at people because he wants to give off an air of nonchalance. He wants to make it seem like he doesn't really care, but also wants to seem intimidating. So his style of doing this, his style of sitting still and then staring at people or only using his eyes to look is really a way to appear calm.
309, do you agree that the decisions as read by the clerk accurately reflect what the jury decided? Ladies and gentlemen, I wish to thank you for your time and consideration of this case. I also wish to advise you of some very special privileges enjoyed by jurors. With that, we thank you again for your service. Gather your belongings, make sure you don't leave anything in the jury room, and the bailiff will escort you out. You are discharged.
All right.
As you can see, he turns to actually face the jury a little bit. He's keeping his chest open, basically saying, I don't feel threatened by you. I'm going to stay open and I don't need to protect myself from you. He's also got his thumbs tucked into his pants, which in some ways is to show that he's feeling casual. It's an attempt to try to appear nonchalant about what's going on. But as he's facing the jury, it's meant to both not only look nonchalant, but also to look intimidating. The idea of facing them, the idea of looking at them. I mean, you really have to consider the fact that this is someone who has literal visible swastikas tattooed on his face and on his head. The goal of intimidating people is clear for him. That's obviously something that's important to him and something that...
Okay, so Dr. G thinks he's about intimidating, and I don't have a lot of time left. I probably have 20 minutes left with you guys. So I figure, let's go listen to Wade's dad for a little bit. I mean, many of you, I bet you everyone's seen this because it has 660,000 views, which is crazy. But I haven't seen it, and we're not going to watch it all. I'll share the link in the chat so you guys can go watch it in full if you haven't seen it by some chance, considering the views. I would bet you have. But there's the link. I just cannot believe there's that many people who watch that. Oh, for certain it's about intimidation. Yeah, absolutely. B crumbs, I wasn't sure. I thought that's what it was, but I'm glad you're showing this, Allie. I had no clue Dr. G did this on him. Well, I thought all of these videos were kind of interesting in their own way, like seeing the neighbor talk about it. Oh God, that press conference was tough. I'd watched all the little short videos just in my own time for fun, but I hadn't watched like the court stuff. So, but one night I just was curious and was kind of scrolling through like news videos and shorts, and I've scrolled all through TikTok, and I had saved a couple videos along the way, and I just thought, let's watch them. We'll just hang out like a Saturday night, hang out and kind of wrap all of this up. Like I said, there will be a couple more things coming, but for the most part.
I was young. My mom and dad had they divorced, so it was just me and her, and my sister was ripping and running, and you know, I knew Wade's mom, and you know, she got pregnant. I was 15, she was 14, and you know, we tried. My mom, she had lung cancer, and she was excited to be a grandma, and she died a month before he was born.
Oh,
So, I mean, what'd you do after that?
wow, really?
That's pretty much the only person that you're leaning on at the time, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so CB says, I've never seen any Wade Wilson coverage on TikTok. I only deal with facts and court transcripts. I should have grabbed the freaking videos. But it was kind of interesting because there was this one girl who, I can try to find it and email it to you. But there was this one girl who knew Wade like back in the day and they were friends. And she like, actually, I think they dated. But by this point, when he was arrested, she was in a relationship, pregnant by someone else, like had nothing to do with him. But she had all these like photos and videos of them hanging out. And she kind of put those out and talked about knowing him. And then, you know, a lot of the girls did interviews and stuff, and those will be clipped on there. A lot of the TikTok stuff is like clips of stuff that we've talked about here, trial stuff, like, you know, but it's there's some pretty interesting stuff over there. I should have grabbed the videos and had them ready, and we could have went over and did some TikToking too, but
I had an older cousin.
I want to skip because I don't really want to hear as much about the background. Let's just skip around a little bit.
Out to his mother. And I hadn't seen her or talked to her since he was given up for adoption.
Really?
And
wow.
Yeah. So I got a message or something that he had reached out to her and was looking for me as well. So we got.
Thank you, Wolfie. But you know what? I have to get off of here by 9, so I probably wouldn't have time to play it tonight anyways, but I appreciate you more than you know. Thank you.
Got in touch like that.
Okay. So break it down. The first time meeting up with him, man. You know, well, first off, are you tall?
No, absolutely
well,
not.
he's pretty tall, right?
I don't know where he got that from. He didn't get it from us, I promise you.
He might not be yours, man.
Luckily, I did get the DNA test, so I know that for sure.
I hate to say that, bro. I'm just playing, man. You know. But
yeah, I thought the same thing. I'm like, where the hell did this dude get this height from? Everybody keeps saying he's 6'5". He's not 6'5".
Skips a generation or something. Oh, he's not 6'5"?
No, he's not 6. He's like 6'3".
6'3", 6'3".
Don't get me wrong.
He's 6'3", but okay. That's tall.
Yeah, he's tall. He's still taller than me, I promise.
Do you mean when do I usually go live? All right, we'll skip a little more since they're just talking about them reconnecting. So usually probably it depends. Like I used to have this thing where I would go in the morning. It started during Christmas a year and a half, like a year and some change ago. And then recently, and I called that Coffee and Crime, and we would just talk about like all true crime stuff, even documentaries coming out, just everything. But, you know, usually probably 5:36 in the evenings, I try to go like before Melissa when she's off for the weekend or something. That's the only reason I'm doing a little later, and it does work for me better with my family on the weekends too. It just kind of works out like that. So it does. It depends though. And Julie says that girl is Courtney. She dated him for a couple weeks.
Like way more than his mom.
I mean, yeah. She's battled her own issues. You know, she still is trying to
read typo for sure.
Get her stuff together. You know, so there was a few times where
we're gonna.
We need this. So it was always those type of kind of junky move stories, you know, and just needing help, you know. But so when he called me, I was working. It was early afternoon, and it was a random number that I didn't recognize, but that was normal. He would call me from all different kinds of numbers. You know, he couldn't keep a phone. So I answered the phone, and he said, hey, Dad, I need some help. Well, I automatically thought, you know, he needs a hotel. He needs money for whatever. So it was a hot day. I was frustrated. I said, listen, call me around dinner time. I'll be done working. Just call me then. We'll figure it out.
Hey, kid.
So he calls me, and he's in a panic. You know, I could tell he's high. And I need help. I've done something I can't take back. You know, there's two people that aren't with us anymore. And
Did you know any of those girls?
Didn't
know nothing about them, huh?
I live 2 hours away, you know, so I'm not familiar with that area at all.
Yeah.
He does look like Wade.
You know, and my first thought was, oh God, here we go. You know, I just thought he was on one. And we talked for a few minutes. I said, listen, I'm on my way home. I said, call me back tonight
Share
and we'll
whatever
figure
you
it out.
want,
You know, I said, are you safe where you are? And he said, yeah, I'm good. I'm in the house. I'm good. I said, all right. So in the meantime,
and he's already told you about taking two people out.
Yeah, but it was general. That's all he said, you know, and he didn't say, you know, he just said, I've done something I can't take back. So
now look, I know you've told, I hate to stop you. I know you've told this story before, but I haven't heard it. Honestly, I haven't heard it. I even in the court trial, I just kind of, you know, watched that little snippet that they had. But my next move probably would have been to tell my old lady.
That was part of it, because here's where I kind of get things twisted sometimes. I'm a changed person, I promise you. But a lot of times I go back in that mode, okay? And I know when something's going on, a lot of times I just react and I don't take a breath and think about it, you know? And that was part of it. I wanted to get home. I wanted to talk to my wife because I knew there was a different vibe about this conversation with him, but I just wasn't ready for it yet. But I knew something was coming, you know?
Wow.
So I did. I went home, but before
I hate it. I'm putting myself in your shoes, man. I'm putting myself in your shoes. Immediately, I would have been like, I'm going to the crib. And I already know what my old lady would say. Look, he killed someone. Record everything. That's the first thing she's going to tell me to do. Record. She's got 4 different recordings. Recording every end.
Yeah. The good thing about my wife is I've known her longer than I've known, you know, Wade's biological mom.
Wow.
So she knows everything about me.
Wow.
So they're like,
that's a long time. Well,
yeah.
Before you move forward, look, you being locked up and you.
I don't worry about it on that.
We want to hear the story.
But in the meantime,
okay, thank you.
As I'm driving home, I get a call. And it's a detective from the Cape Coral Police Department.
Before you even talk to him again.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I don't think he said that on the stand, did he?
Second call and me getting home to talk to my wife, I get a call from a detective. And what he had done was called me from one of these girls' phones.
Oh, man.
So that's how they got my phone number. And in the process, I got a text message from somebody telling me that my son had jumped on his girlfriend and tried to kidnap her. So as I'm on the phone, and in the process, I got a text message from somebody telling me that my son had jumped on his girlfriend and tried to kidnap her.
Who's that about? Mila is who we know he tried to get in the car, but that's Wade's girlfriend. Oh, had jumped on his girlfriend. Like, okay, I get it. Never mind. I thought he was saying like a guy said, hey, Wade tried to jump on my girlfriend, but he said Wade, or tried to kidnap my girlfriend, but he said Wade tried to do it to his girlfriend. Forgive me, you guys.
So as I'm on the phone with the detective, I get a text message that tells me that. So I'm thinking, oh man. The detective asked me who I was. I said, I'm his biological father. And she said, do you know where he's at? And I said, no, I don't know where he's at. And she said, have you heard from him? I said, yeah, I've talked to him a couple times today. And she said, are you going to talk to him again? We need to talk to him.
Wow, it's so interesting to hear like about his conversations with police during this time, and also, I don't know if I dreamt this, if I'm remembering wrong or something, but when this first happened, I remember hearing that like his dad was upset because he didn't want to get dragged into it. Unless, like I said, I've dreamt that or something, like, I don't know, and I'm remembering incorrectly. But was that the case that he kind of was like, dude, you can't, why are you telling me this? Now I know, and you've put me in a position, basically. Tiffany, thank you for rejoining. Oh, okay, Candace. Okay. Just on, I'm not sure. I'm going to drop the link again in just a second, and you can check out his channel. But, okay, let's hear this.
And I said, he said he'd call me later, and she said, listen, take this number down. If you hear from him, call us. I said, okay. Hung up the phone with her, went home, talked to my wife, told my wife about the text, told my wife about the detective, what Wade had said to me. And that's the only details I knew at that time. So, I was kind of left for a couple hours waiting to hear from him. And he finally called me. It was about 10 o'clock at night when he called me from the same number he called me from earlier.
And it's a girl's number.
No, not the first time. That was
okay.
from the girl phone. The second time was from a different number.
Oh, okay.
And he told me he was in a house, he was safe. What he did was he took both of their phones. So he kept Christine's phone open and called me from that phone initially.
Wonder how he did that, because we know he used her face the first time, but would he have changed the settings? And to change the settings, you have to do the face scan again or the password again. So I wonder how he did that.
And then a lot of stuff happened in between, and he ended up in a house. He broke into a house. He called me about 10 o'clock, and we talked, just small talk for a few, what's going on, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, Dad, I need you to come get me. I'm in trouble. So I'm like, my first reaction, I said, are you safe? And he goes, I'm safe. I just got to get out of here. So I jump up. I'm going to get my shoes on, get ready, and I'm going to drive down there and get him. Well, as I'm thinking about it, I said to myself, you better find out what's going on before you just drive down there.
Start touching things.
End up in some stuff. I don't want to be involved with this
I'm like, hold on, bro. Hold on, son.
Yeah.
Hold on, man. Let's talk about these two people you killed first, because I ain't coming over there and touching nothing of yours. As I would have said straight like that to him.
Yeah. Well, I said to him as I'm getting ready and getting all my shit together, I said, listen, you got to tell me what's going on. I said, you know my past. I said, I need to know what's going on.
Okay, now before we hear this, Julie, they said during the trial he did the face thing, but I don't know. CC77, me too, and I'm proud of you for getting off of it. That's awesome. It's not easy, and let me tell you what. The rate of people who get addicted to pain pills or nerve pills and never get off of it, and especially with like nerve pills, but even pain pills, it is very high. Maybe they get off of it and go back to it, but to get off and stay off, the statistics are against you. You are a true miracle when you can do that, in my opinion. But not just my opinion. I actually heard that like when I went to rehab years and years ago, probably 11 or 12, 10 to 12 years ago. And they were talking about like how high the rate of relapse is. And yeah, so you're really a true miracle. And I'm proud of all you guys who have. Okay, let's hear what he says. So he tells Wade, dude, you need to tell me what's going on.
And he started from the top. He told me him and Mila went to the Buddha, hanging out, you know, and he gave me kind of a shorter version. He said they got into an argument.
And Mila is one of his girlfriends.
That was his girlfriend.
Main
yeah.
girlfriend at the time.
Yeah, at the time, yeah. He said we got in an argument and I ended up leaving the bar with 2 girls. And I was like, okay. He left out the whole part about going to the dude's house and all that. He didn't tell me any of that. All he said was they went back to one of the girls' houses and hung out for a little while. He said her friend left and they had sex and she fell asleep on the bed. And he said he stayed up for a little while, just kind of partying. And he said he just walked in there, got on top of her, and choked her to death. And at first I was thrown by it. You know, I didn't know. I'm trying to hear in his voice, you know, is this another story? But I can hear the panic in his voice, you know.
Was it panic or pride? Because wasn't he like, he's saying that he talks about her being asleep, but at another point he says that he was kind of bragging.
Said, why, son? And he
that
said,
was
Dad,
the jail call.
I don't know.
Yes, Riley.
Just wanted to do it. So
you believe that?
What's that?
Do you believe that?
The truth about it is, for years, I've told my wife, I said, my biggest fear is one day he's going to kill one of these girls. Because I'm telling you.
You had so many calls, man, from the girls getting beat by him.
Wow.
Girls,
what?
Man,
What? See, I'm going to add a clip of this in my video about his history. This infuriates me. Let me rewind that and let's hear that part again.
So,
oh my God.
You believe that?
What's that?
Do you believe that?
The truth about it is, for years, I've told my wife, I said, my biggest fear is one day he's going to kill one of these girls.
Wow.
Because I'm telling you.
You had so many calls, man, from the girls getting beat by him.
Multiple girls, man, would call me, text me, you know.
Multiple girls.
Just desperate. Young girls, you know, just don't know what to do, don't know how to deal with it.
Oh my God.
Looking for help, you know. And everybody would say, you know, when he's not on drugs, man, he's a great dude. He's funny.
Right.
He's cool to hang out with, you know, but it's something in him. Man, when he gets high, he flips out, man. I just think I think he just took it one step farther this time. I think he's wanted to do that for a long time. I know he's never done that before. He's never killed a woman.
Wolfie, I agree. Did he not? That's kind of what I was thinking too. I know he can't do anything, but it feels like tell someone, you know what? I don't know. Now, now there's no change in what's happened. But Dad seems pretty sure he's never took someone's life before.
He just took it
about to wrap
one step
this up,
farther.
But I want to hear this.
I think he's wanted to do that for a long time. I know he's never done that before. He's never killed a woman before. I know that. But I feared that he would one day. So when he told me that, it hurt me.
Kit says, I think he has.
But it didn't surprise me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think he's wanted to do it for a while.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, you know, I think about all these, you know, videos and all this that people talk about.
Right, Crystal.
I wonder what all these people would say if all these prior girlfriends and baby mama told their story.
Yeah.
Because they've been pretty quiet. I haven't seen anything from any of them.
You know, just trying to make sense of it. It's
Okay.
wild to think, man.
In cases, I think he has.
Yeah,
five.
my 15-year-old.
Uh-huh.
You know these kids. They don't put their phones down.
Yeah.
So I think it's hard on my young son because
Okay, I don't mean to skip this. I'm going to share the link again, but I want to.
they talk shit.
I have to go in a
But
second, and I really want to see her.
He's a
about
strong
this
kid,
a little more.
and I've taught him to be strong mentally.
Yeah.
And he's handling it really good.
Well, that's
so
good,
I'm proud
man.
of
That's
him.
good.
Yeah. You know, so the more he talked about it to me, the more I could hear it in his voice.
Wolfie, their name is Lockdown 23 and 1. Wait, that's the account we were just talking about, Wolfie, remember? With MJ?
He was almost reliving it. You know what I mean?
They left a comment on our video?
And I had such a feeling listening to him tell me what he had done. You know, it got to the point where I put the phone on speakerphone because I felt like if I told my wife this, she wouldn't have believed me.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt like I needed somebody else to hear this because I almost felt, you know, I went back to like seeing him born in my memory, you know, bringing him home, holding him as a baby, sleeping with him,
Look at his
bathing him,
profile
feeding him, doing all these things with him. You know, I missed all those other years.
That guy.
So my memory of him was as a baby. And now he's a man. And I'm hearing this man that I created, helped create, telling me the details of all these things with joy in his voice. You know, it made me want to throw up. I literally put the phone away and felt like I was just going to throw up. And at that moment, that's the moment when I realized I hadn't even heard about Diane's situation yet. But just the details that he went into about Christine, you know, rolling her up in the bedding and tying her up and dragging her down the, you know, trying to get her to the car. But
why is it lagging? My internet's not like messing up. Oh,
he couldn't. She was too heavy. You know, hearing him describe those things to me, it just, I can't explain that feeling, you know, from your kid, you know, your son. Yeah, I didn't raise him. But we had a strong connection because he knew my past and we talked about that. We talked about, you know, getting help for his demons, you know, getting him some drug help to get off the drugs. We had detailed conversations. And that's why he called me. That's why, you know, he felt comfortable to talk to me about it, because I think a part of him knew that I wouldn't judge him on it, but he knew I wouldn't be okay with it, because we had countless conversations about the physical stuff with these girls in the past, you know, and I would try to give him a different perspective. You know, what if that was one of your sisters, man?
I forgot about that.
You know, what if that was your biological mom? What if that was your adopted mom? Would you want somebody treating them that way?
Right.
You know, but it never changed. You know, I know, Dad, I know I'm wrong, but the cycle would continue, you know?
Yeah.
So it was hard to hear, for sure.
I bet.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
You bet.
Well, you already know that the detectives are pretty much getting a lead to everything that he's doing. So you know they're going to hear this.
Yeah.
You know, so
Chelsea.
I mean, before he even started continuing the story.
Now we're going to hear this, even though I do have to go. I'm going to stay until like 9:50. I'm trying to push it out because I want to hear this, and not just by myself, with you guys. So I have to read this though, because Candace, you're so right. And I want to add to it, or CB, I'm sorry, was thinking of something else. So CB says, the way he tied up her garments, and very similar to how he ties up his linen in prison, makes my blood run cold. And I completely agree. And it's not just that. It's the linens we saw in the prison photos, the victims' garments, and all the other people that have reported he did that to them too. You know, that's another part of it.
In my mind, I knew, you know, I can't help him with this.
Oh, it was sealed shut right there.
When I'm a firm believer, man. You don't hurt children, and you don't hurt women. You know, and these women were innocent. It's not like they got in a, they were in a relationship and got in a heated argument. You know, this was on the fly.
Yeah.
And it stemmed from his anger from his argument with Mila.
But how? Oh, okay, because they got in an argument at the Buddha. Lisa, Lin, don't leave. I'm doing my friend's nails, and we're all into this. I love that. That is so cool. I knew it was CB. That's why I called you that, but I didn't, like, in case you were trying to, like, move away from that, is the only reason I said it like that. Because you know what I mean. So just so you know, yeah, in the future and stuff like that. I'm not going to say Wolfie's real name, but I will say this. I would never do that. But I will say this. I accidentally do it to her all the time. I'm terrible. These days, not as much, but sometimes still. So yeah, I'm really sorry. And that's why I said that. But okay, let's go.
That's where he really got pissed off.
Oh, man. Hold
at
on.
the bar.
See, now look, this is another little picture I was painting in my head. A lot of guys, man, if the girl's really mad at him for leaving with another girl, he could have snapped and said, you know what? I'm going to take her out. Maybe that'll make her feel a little better, because he's so mad in her age, you know?
Mad. Yeah. And I don't know the ins and outs of the argument. He never went in detail with me about it, but I knew that that's where it stemmed from. His anger started there that night. And then, the drugs and just probably stewing on that argument. He did what he did.
Yeah.
And so at that point,
No, I'm sorry. No. With all due respect, you don't get to say that it's because of his fight with Mila. He had a history of doing this. You just said. I knew he was going to kill someone one day. There were so many girls who told me, blah, 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 whatever he said. And then now it's, he's just stewing on that fight with Mila. No, he's just a monster, and that's it. Like, I didn't like that, but okay.
I wasn't 100%,
sorry,
but I was about 95% knowing this is bad. This, I cannot go along with this,
Yeah. And that's the thing, man. A lot of people, maybe not so many, but there's going to be some that would say, that would say, oh, hell no. Even after talking to detectives and all that, I'ma still protect him. I'm not, ain't no way, you get smoked right with him. You know what I mean? At this point, there ain't no helping, like you said.
Yeah.
Besides mentally,
Right, exactly. and let me just make this clear. I've read a lot of stuff where people say, hell no, that not my son. I would never turn my son in. I would never do that.
Yeah.
Well, it's a hard decision, I promise you. And it's the worst decision I've ever had to make, like in my mind. But I knew, because I know him so well, I knew in my heart what was gonna happen. 100%. I knew what was gonna happen. I could hear it in his voice. And I I tried. It was so bad. I was trying to almost.
Lisa says this is very, very hard to explain to people who doesn't know this stuff. LMAO. Dude, same. Because I try to talk, like if I try to talk about any of this stuff with my family, it's exactly the same. But I will just, for the long and the short, this is the father of Wade Wilson, who, I don't even know if I said that right, the long and the short part, ignore me. But this is the father of Wade Wilson. He's a man on death row in Florida for taking the lives of 2 women very violently, and also violently attacking many other women. And his dad is actually the one who turned him into police. This is his biological dad. I'm sorry. He has adopted parents as well, but he called his dad and bragged to him about his crimes, and he's kind of telling his story about that. So I'm sure you've already explained that, but maybe I could help a little.
Calm him down, you know, because he was so amped up telling me about it. And, you know, he just told me, you know, he left her. He left her in the house. He took her car, took her phone, and and then he went into he didn't go in detail about Mila much in that situation, but he told me he was driving. He's like, I don't know where I'm at. You know, he hadn't been in Fort Myers, Cape Coral area long at all. So he had no sense of direction. He didn't know where he was at. He was just driving. And to jump to Diane's situation, he told me that he saw her walking down the street. You know, he stopped, he asked her for directions, asked her if she needed a ride, and she got in the car. You know, I don't, you know, I battle with that because I don't get that part of it. And you know, who knows
Who
what
knows?
really happened.
At that point,
you
he
know?
could have just snatched her up, man.
Yeah. You
And
know, who
painted a
knows?
picture however he wanted to paint it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Which is exactly what he did, claiming that they had consensual sex, when we know Diane, you know, right before she was texting her fiance, hey, you forgot to give me a kiss this morning. And then she was walking to work to provide for her family. Wade, oh God, he was just disgusting about that. And the cops, during his interrogation, did call him out. So this guy's totally right. He did make up whatever story.
You know, he told me she got in the car and
I hate to stop you again, but you hear comments like that. What kind of girl would just jump in someone's car? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We don't know. You're
don't know,
man.
Don't know what
people
happened.
will take anything and run with it, man. You know,
Yeah.
they can't. You got to leave. It's too many possibilities. You know, we only know what we know.
And there was only 2 people there for that situation, and he's the only one that's able to tell what happened.
Yeah.
So, you know, he told me they drove for a few minutes, and he said, Dad, I just reached over and I just choked the baby out with one hand, you know, and I was driving with the other. He said he then was looking for somewhere to dump her body, and he drove around for a little bit, and
Wait,
he
I want to
said he
rewind
went
that
in
real quick.
and dumped her body in the wood. Tell what happened.
Yeah.
So, you know, he told me they drove for a few minutes, and he said, Dad, I just reached over and I just choked the baby out with one hand, you know, and I was driving with the other. He said he then was
Dad, I just reached over and choked the bee out with one hand, and I was driving with the other. Huh.
looking for somewhere to dump her body.
Not what he told police.
And he drove around for a little bit, and he said he went in and dumped her body in the woods. And he said to me, when he pulled her out of the car, he realized that she was still alive. And he said he got back in the car and he said, Dad, I run that bitch over till she looked like spaghetti.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Hearing my son say that to me.
Oh my God. Hey, Amber.
I realized at that point that it was over. I knew he enjoyed it. I knew he wanted me to feel, I don't even think intentionally he wanted me to feel his excitement. I just feel like he just was so amped up talking about it. That's just how it came off to me, was almost like he wanted me to feel,
How scary is that?
the,
And listen
I
here,
don't know.
there are monsters like this among us all. This is something we need to take, as especially as women, but the men here too, of course. But as women, I think that we're particularly vulnerable. And just remember, monsters do not always look like monsters. They just don't. Look at Ted Bundy.
I'm gonna say joy. I don't know what the feeling was. Just adrenaline, maybe. He wanted me to feel that.
Maybe he
with
wanted
him.
you to have some kind of a acceptance of it a little bit. Listen,
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Or maybe, he was trying to get you tricked the hell up too.
Yeah.
Some little, like some bitter payback stuff. He's going down. He's going to bring the dad that should have been there for me down too. You never know. Because, anyone who's been locked up knows you talking like to someone like that, you're making them an accessory right off the break.
Yeah.
Anyone would know that. And if they care about him at all, they would, so
there's that
they'd
part.
be very bland. But from what he's broke down everything to you.
Wait a minute. Let's see that again.
Should have been there for me down too. You never
Yeah.
know. Because, anyone who's been locked up knows talking like bitter. Listen, I don't know, man. Or maybe, he was trying to get you tricked the hell up too.
Yeah.
Some little, like some bitter payback stuff. He's going down. He's going to bring the dad that should have been there for me down too. You never know. Because, anyone who's been locked up knows you talking like to someone like that, you're making them an accessory right off the break.
Yeah.
Anyone would know that. And if they care about him at all, they would, so they'd be very bland. But from what he's broke down everything to you.
And I'm giving you the, the short version.
If Wade cared about him at all, he wouldn't have done that. Honestly, that's a great point.
Would, so they'd be very bland. But from what he's broke down everything to you.
And I'm giving you the, the short version.
And I'm giving you the short version. Wow, he does kind of resemble Colby Ryan.
Thanks,
yeah.
When I tell you, it's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. It's the worst thing that I've ever listened to in my life. And it amplified it so much because, like I said, all I could think about was him as a baby,
Oh my God.
just that innocent kid, and I just was, in my mind was like, how did we get here? You know what I mean? How did we get here? Because he wasn't raised like that. His adoptive family, they're solid people, good people.
There you go. There's about his adoptive parents, Riley. I don't know. I think he really wanted to brag to someone, and this is the only person he thought he could maybe trust enough not to tell. It's possible. But still, just as like he had done time in prison, he would know for sure that anybody that you tell, becomes an accessory if they don't tell, right? So I don't know, but I could definitely see your point.
Hardworking, honest Christian people.
Have you spoken to them at all since that took place?
Yeah, I've spoken with his mother. Yeah,
I can only imagine how they're feeling about it. Like they can't.
Yeah,
even believe it.
I mean, it's. I know how I feel. I can only imagine raising him.
Yeah.
And they went through a lot. They tried everything with him. I mean, they tried everything. They put him in facilities to try to help him. They knew he was using drugs. They tried to get him help. He was in and out of detention centers, and he chose a different route. They did their job, and they tried to instill morals and good values in him.
Yeah, salute to them, man.
So they're solid people. This is not a reflection, anything on any part of them, because they really are great people.
Yeah.
So there's a part of it that never came out in the court. And, after he was arrested, him and I spoke on the phone a few times. And it was 2 days after he was arrested. I got a call from that same detective. And she asked me, she said, do you think that Wade would talk to you? And I said, yeah, I think he'll talk to me. And I asked her why. And she said, you know, we're searching for Diane's body and we can't find her.
So remember the interview we heard where you guys said that Wade's dad talked him into talking to police where he wanted the fast food? This is about that.
Do you think if you came down and visited with him, you know, that we could try to get some information, anything about it, you know? And I said, yeah. So the next day, my wife and I drove down, and she stayed in the truck, and I went in to visit him. And
they give you a normal visit or some kind of special visit?
Through the glass on the phone,
Okay.
you know. He came up to the glass and he looked at me and he said, Dad, did you turn me in? And I said, yeah, I did. And he said, why? And I said, son, the excitement that I heard in your voice on the phone scared me, because I knew that if you got away with this and got out of this area, that you would do it again.
Yeah.
And you know, he looked at me for a minute and he said, you know, you know me so well. And I said, what does that mean? And he said, you're exactly right. That's exactly what I would have done. And hearing him say that, it just solidified for me that I had made the right decision.
Is that really how it went down? I think you guys have heard the video call now. Okay, we're about to wrap this up. Let's just listen for another minute. I will share the link so you guys can listen to the rest, and I'll give you the timestamp we end at.
Because, you know, he openly said that to me, man, that was his intention, to get out of this area.
Kelly, you're fine.
And keep on going.
You guys are funny.
So for that, I don't care what anybody says. It doesn't bother me, because I know in my heart that I did the right thing.
Who could say anything about him? Like, how do people criticize him for that, for telling the truth? I don't know.
I made the right choice.
Yeah,
Yes,
I agree.
So,
when I did that first video on it, I
you
said
would.
that, man, you know, can't let it ruin your whole life. You know, you got other kids and all kinds of stuff going on, man. He would ruin all their lives if you wanted to go. You would have to go on to run with your son. I mean, detectives already heard everything, you know. So it's ridiculous for people to even think that would help anything. You know, it wouldn't.
Yeah,
it wouldn't help nothing. I mean, did it end well, that conversation?
Yeah. You know, in that visit was the first time that I saw or heard some emotion in my son's voice, because I said to him, I said, listen, you know, the second woman, I said, you know, she has 2 kids, right? And he was like, no. And I said, yeah, you know, I said, it's really hard for me, son, to sit at home and watch this media coverage and seeing her children on TV begging their mom to come home.
Oh my God.
I said, it's hard for me, son, because you and I both know that that's not going to happen. And I said to him, I said, you know, think about it. What if that was your sisters, your mother, your biological mom, you know, a woman you cared about? You know, would you want just, you know, someone to do the right thing? You know, I said, right now you look like an animal. I said, but you can,
Leslie,
turn it around. You know, you can do the right thing. I said, they need to find her body. And he was, you know, he had tears in his eyes. And he said, well, what do I do? I said, you tell the truth, son. I said, you tell the truth. What's done is done. You can't change it, but you can try to make it a little better. You
he
know,
seems to be at least a good influence, right? I mean, even though Wade wanted the freaking fast food and stuff.
This family. And I didn't anticipate for him to go into detail with me about it, but he said, I'm not familiar with Fort Myers. I don't know the area. And I just thought to myself for a second, I said, did you throw her purse out of the car? And he said, yeah. I said, well, they found her purse.
Remember, it was like bright colored.
And it's like a light bulb clicked in his head. And he said, okay, well, where her purse was, if you go down a little bit, there's like a neighborhood where they're building houses. They're real spread out. He said, I turned in there and I went to the back and I saw a wooded area, and that's where I put her body.
Now, I know they said that the birds and stuff that's how they found her, but I wonder if this call had something to do with it too.
So, thankfully he did that. He did the right thing with that.
No, he didn't.
And, I know they.
No, he didn't. Maybe he hadn't seen the interview then.
Found her body that day. So.
Wow. So Dad didn't know. Wade didn't tell them. He literally refused because he wanted to go see it. Remember, he wanted to see what he had done. And he also wanted fast food. Okay, guys. So we are done. Hey, unsupervised maniacs. Good to see you. We're done, you guys. Like I said, there will be a couple things that I'm going to do pre-records involving his history that I want to get out if that request comes back from the 2014 case. Otherwise, I'm going to kind of leave it where it is. It might be something we discuss on Patreon more, like the penalty phase. But I'm just it's just the decision I've came to today. So thank you guys for being here. Here's the link. Here's the timestamp. 47:52. I know they found her before they talked to him, but I'm curious if it had something to do with the call with his dad, which would have happened before too. I don't know. I know they mentioned the vultures. Thank you, Crazy Mama. Thank you, guys. Thank you all for being here. I really do appreciate you guys. I just dropped the link to this video. If you want to finish it, it's at 47 minutes, 52 seconds. No, 20 more minutes. Show the community post of his. What is it about this? Hold on, because I can't. Let's see. Come over to this Facebook account and pull it up first before I pull it up. Oh, Woofy. His channel will here. I'll share his community tab with you guys too. This is the creator who did the interview. I have respect for his dad. I do. I gotta say, just because that couldn't have been easy. And I can understand some criticism here and there, like that, all the girls calling him. Surely, I don't know. Like Woofy said, if you see something, you have to say something, but also he did when it really mattered. Not that it didn't matter then, because it would have, but in the end, when they needed him to, he did. And if it wasn't for him, God only knows. There really could have been more people that lost their lives. He is a vicious, vicious monster. And yeah, what's the comment? Hold on, let me see. Oh, no, I'm done anyways, Wolfie, because I'm freezing and I'm outside. But so I'm going to end this and I'll see you guys tomorrow. I think we're going to do some Megan Boswell stuff. I do have a couple errands I have to run, so it could get rescheduled. Just keep an eye out if you're interested. I think Bieber's going to come on and talk about that as well. And yeah, but yeah, Woofy, if you find that comment, let me know. And then all of you guys, thank you for being here. I appreciate you guys. If you wanted to see all the documents that I talked about, they're on Patreon. You do have to join as a free member, but that's it. And you can have access to all the documents for every case and the timeline I made for Stephen Stearns, which if you haven't seen and you followed that case, go check it out. That timeline, I'm so proud of it. And it took a long time. And I pulled together resources from several different local news timelines. They each had their own. And then I added in all the stuff from the police documents that we've gotten, including the text messages, all the timestamps he was caught on camera, just so much. And there's links you can click that will take you to the 911 calls and different interviews and articles and police statements. So please check that out if you're interested. It would mean so much to me because I'm just so proud of that. And I know that we've got some more stuff coming as far as that goes. But thank you guys for being here. I appreciate you guys. I hope you have a great night. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Jen, I haven't heard that, but it is interactive. If you like know it, you should send it to me. I would love to see. Thank you, Woofy. I'm going to drop, I think I have unsupervised in the Nightbot too. So I wanted to drop hers too, because I was trying to drop the channels that came in. I hope you guys checked them out. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a great night. Bye.